This is going to be a little bit on the gardening, and I've got a couple of helpers here, so if they get in the way, don't worry. This is Periwinkle, I think, in front of me. I don't know if you can see her. Come on, Perry. Come here. There, this is Perry. And Montague's over there. He'll get in the action. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the ubiquitous, perennial problem of boxwood. And if you look at what's in front of you here, every bit of this garden was bordered by boxwood, all symmetrical, beautifully laid out. And guess what? We had flooding here. I replaced all of them twice. 20 years, this over 20-year period. And over in the back of me, you can see where it's a little bit higher. It hasn't been as bad, but that has problems too, which I'm going to point out in a minute. The only tools you need to really take care of boxwood is these pruners. I've used electric, but it's dangerous because you do too much. And also like little pruners that you can get the bottom with. Okay, that's how we're going to start. Now these are the boxwood that are the full height, 20 years. And they're too big, really, because you can see that this is after trimming them. I can hardly get through on this pathway. And that's a problem. There's other problems as well, which I'll explain in just a bit. And that is that this is probably not the best way to treat boxwood. Boxwood, by its very nature, wants to grow straight up. So you can do hedges that are straight up and make them, just cut them off at the top. Now the problem is, how do I get them smaller? Now we're going to look at some of these that got too big, lost, parts on the top. I had no recourse, and this is experimental, that I actually cut them way down. Now, this is about how we started, and this is basically what you would have to buy from a nursery. You can't buy rounded topiary boxwood at the nursery. They don't have it. So, if you look behind me, and here's what I've got in a pot, you can see that that's the height that I've been able to keep those. And then these I have cut way down, and here's what has to happen. You're going to have to actually start brutally. These are just starting again, and they seem to have two parts. There's like two root systems. I can't understand it, but that was tough. Okay, and you're going to just do this. Every time you cut, remember, you're going to stimulate growth at that point. Okay, notice I'm using these upside down. It fits the shape better. Okay, and we're going to just kind of keep this so that as it grows this summer, this is March, okay, here in Florida, and we can get 2 more trims out of this before winter. Don't trim before it gets cold because they don't like that. Okay, but just kind of trim that. Now, what'll happen is there's a hole in the middle here. So we're just going to have to see if that'll fill in. And all of this is going to have to be trimmed back. I know it seems brutal, but it was horrible to do this. One of the things that, there we go, see? I'm just going to kind of corral this little bugger. And this one here, I don't know whether you can see it, but this we've got to this height. Look at, you can see here where I've trimmed it. Anytime you get brown or a dog urinates on it, you've got to cut it off, and because it'll just poison the rest of the plant. And you're going to go like that. Okay, so I'm going to have to see if this will work. If it doesn't, and it doesn't start to fill back in, then I'm going to have to cut it down like I did these. Now, what you also have to be aware of is that once you cut them down, and you have Great Danes, okay, there's no protection for them. You see over there, there's a wide enough space they can get around those. but these were all close together here that I'm showing you. And I went to Lowe's and I bought this decorative fencing. It's the kind that you don't have to dig in. And I just put it along there. You can see so many weeds. I got to pull those weeds out. But that was to keep the dogs from walking there. And if I kind of pan around here, you'll see, here's where I started. That's where I lost it. These are all good going back here toward the house. Okay, that looks pretty good. But those had the most water because there was water coming down from the roof, 2 roofs. And these down here, on the other hand, had gotten really, and they stood in the water. That's what happened. So what's happened in the garden here is that I've got all these different stages going on after 20 years. And will they make it? I think they might. I took some out to make the path wider. I sort of kind of got myself into a trap because what happened was all you could do out here is go round and round and round in circles. And the dogs still do that actually. But the point of it is that all the ones that disappeared, what do I do? Well, I'll tell you, I've got a solution. Now this shows you a little bit of solution. We're at the bottom of the tallow tree here, which I took from a baby, tiny thing in a pot, and I trained it to look very oriental, which was easy to do when it was little. It's considered a junk tree in Florida. It came from China way back. But anyway, if you look at the bottom, of course there's so many roots, and the same with wherever you've got palms. I just use these pots, and you can move those around, and the bigger pots are pretty easy to maintain. So you can move these pots wherever you want, like out in the center of the garden here. Oh, I should have moved that hose. Well, too bad. Anyway, you'll notice that there are roses out there, and they just bloomed. But one of them, I just moved the pot. I could do it by myself. Great big pot, and the rose wasn't getting any sun. And that's another thing, you know, plants are so, oh my gosh, it's the soil, it's the sun, it's the everything, the water, drainage. Boxwood like drainage. I see all the new ones here. They're not new. They're just ones that I pruned way down. And of course, if you really can't do this boxwood business, and this is all Japanese boxwood, by the way. English boxwood wouldn't have worked. Oh. If you go and you look at the ilex here, the ilex, and there's my pruners, they're stuck in the ilex. I pruned these brutally, and I didn't know if they were going to recover. And that's boxwood you see next to the ladder. Okay, and it has a different kind of leaf structure, but the ilex is like, it's like foolproof. Basically nothing can happen to ilex, but it isn't the same moldability and shape. It's hard to explain, but it's like, and that's plumbago coming up here in the middle. And I just kind of go at this with whatever happens, and a lot of it's all accident and chance now, so to speak. Of course, there's no accidents in mine, but that's beside the point. So that it gave me areas I could put benches. I put a little kind of homemade fire pit there for the boys last Thanksgiving. You know, you can just kind of, I'm learning to just go with the flow. So it turned it out from a very formal garden. Now you see the great big hedges there next to the 2 doors of the studio. Those are Rotunda Holly. Don't ever do Rotunda Holly. It is gorgeous. It is just so trimmable. It is so wonderful. But the leaves have razor-like points, and when they dry, you don't want to be near them with your hands, your feet, or any part of your body. So that's the problem in Florida. A lot of the things are poisonous, or they're sharp and thorny. I had a whole hedge of what do you call that stuff that everybody loves, bougainvillea, and finally the guy that had to take it off the fence called it bougainvillea, with blood running all over his arms. You know, Florida is not a fun place to garden, but we do it. This is an example of holly. Not holly. This is an example of the boxwood kind of left to its own devices, kind of an irregular, it's not a sphere, and it's much healthier. The reason for the sphere being a problem, if I can kind of go, let's see if I can do this. If I can go down here, you see how it's kind of bare at the bottom? I've had to trim all of that out because, and once you do that, then the light can get in there. But when it's very compact, let me see if I can find a couple examples here. It is said, I don't necessarily believe this, but it is said that that really is not good for the plant because the light can't get down in there. Well, you have to get down on your hands and knees and trim out the bottom anyway, and also for pulling up the weeds. I mean, this is work, there's no question. But you can also see how the Great Danes have done their own pruning as they've run through here. This looks kind of nice, but you'll see that there's parts missing here and there. There's holes. Oh, there's some terrible holes there. But that's the way it is. And still, the whole look is kind of cool. It's kind of wonderful. And as I say, it allowed me to put things, now I don't know what I'm going to do with this. We used to call this the Horseshoe Garden, and it had all lilies. And I'm started the peppermint lilies in the middle there. But I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. And if I'm in Maine, I'm not going to do that much because guess what? It's all going to be weeds when I get back anyway. And let's see, there's an ilex right in the middle of those boxwood. I don't know if you can see it. Let me go over to the palms here. And you can see the boxwood in front, the ilex much larger. That's holly behind the boxwood there. And I let things kind of happen because the birds drop seeds, and so this was all canna lilies 2 years ago. It was really pretty, but then they're very gangly when they get tall, and you have to snip them off every day, kind of like deadheading petunias and roses, and it's a lot of work. And right now I'm not really crazy about more work. So as I say, I'm getting very relaxed. Liriopia is okay in the summer. Right now the dogs have trampled it all down, but it'll come back. Got to be really flexible. Got to be really, really laid back about this whole, thing, and just enjoy it and smell the roses. Look at the amaryllis blooming and enjoy your potted flowers that go through the winter. Now this poor baby, if you look at it, sad, sad, sad. Look at that. The whole inside of it's gone. I've only got the top, and I've got a few things at the bottom. I'm probably going to have to take this down, like the little ones that are in the front of it here. But nevertheless, it's worth a shot. And I think it'll work. It'll take another 5 years before they're, any size at all. But that's life, Take one day at a time, relax, enjoy, and be happy.